Lots of mental health professionals are ready to position themselves as experts, and for good reason. You have years of experience, all kind of expertise that you can leverage to help you grow your business, have a bigger impact, and make more money. Why wouldn't you? The thing is, though, when you're ready to start saying that you're an expert in something, you absolutely have to choose a niche. And this becomes a challenge for folks for a variety of reasons. A lot of times when I tell people, all right, it's time for you to create a niche for your practice, I hear things, well, I don't want to exclude anybody. I don't want to leave anybody out. And I want you to know that the opposite is true. I want you to imagine how many people actually live in the city where you are. Thousands of people live in the city where you are. And it is literally impossible for you to be the person that can provide services and support for all of those folks. So, really, what you're doing is choosing with great specificity the few people that you feel most suited to serve and making room for other therapists that are out there to serve those folks that they feel most suited to serve. A lot of times we feel, well, if I create a niche for myself, not only am I excluding people, but I'm going to make it hard for me to fill my practice. Again, let me share with you that having a niche actually creates the opposite effect. When someone has a specific problem and you are able to define yourself as the expert that's able to support them, the yes is that much easier to make. However, when people position themselves as generalists, you feel you're going to get a generalized result. And so when folks are looking for a particular type of therapist or they know they have a particular type of challenge, they are also more likely to be able to make the intellectual jump to see how the niche that you've outlined can include them. For example, I had a woman in New York. I loved working with her. She and I have worked together many times over the years as her business has grown. And in the beginning, she was interested in working with Black women that were bipolar. She had a whole approach to emotional regulation that was ideally suited for working with them. Perfect. Well, believe it or not, there were men who were dealing with bipolar that would reach out to her and say, I know you can help me. If you've got this program, I'm sure you can help me. There were also people who were not bipolar, but were interested in emotional regulation. They could see that clearly, if you're able to help someone with this diagnosis, you can support me. And so creating a niche doesn't actually exclude people. It actually helps people see you as the expert in the thing that they're most needing to manage. Now, when it comes to volume in your practice, volume is not about selecting a niche. Volume is about visibility. So once you have clarity about your niche, you can shout it from the rooftops and find the people that are going to be a good fit for you instead of shouting out a message that's rather lukewarm, that won't kind of resonate with people, and it'll keep your practice small. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So we want to remove the idea in our mind that by niching, you're excluding people, or by niching, you're eliminating clients. Really, what you're doing is the exact opposite. And I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to creating an expertise for yourself and really building a business around what you can offer, this is a thing that you cannot sneak past. I see people try to, not choose a niche and just get started with their website anyway. And when they are facing that blank canvas, trying to figure out what to say, who you're even talking to, how to position yourself, and much less where are you going to market and to whom, it gets difficult. And so if you really want to set yourself up for success, don't try to sneak past this one. Niching is not an option if you want to be an expert in the field. You absolutely have to have a niche. So no sneaking past this dragon. It's going to wake up and bite you in the butt. So if you're ready to create a niche for yourself, let's talk about how you can do that, right? The first thing I want you to know is that there are no niches that look exactly like yours. That also tends to stand in people's way sometimes. This feeling that if you see someone that's doing something similar to what you want to do, or serving a population similar to what you want to serve, that somehow there's no room for you. Listen, these people that are doing work similar to what you wish to do, what I like to call your niche mates. They are people who might be serving a segment of the audience that's similar to yours, but they're not serving them exactly the way you do. And so instead of thinking of yourself as being in competition with them, I want you instead to think about contrast. What is it about me that's different that will allow me to highlight my skills and at the same time make room for them to highlight theirs? So you're not comparing yourself to them. Instead, you are collaborating with them in ways that help you and the community of folks that you're both wanting to work with thrive. So I just want to put that out there for you. So just because you see someone doing something similar to you does not mean that there's not room for you to continue to move forward. And truth be told, no one's niche can be exactly your niche because I teach folks about the importance of creating a niche that has layers, 5 layers in a unique niche that will distinguish you no matter how similar you are to some of your colleagues. So let's kind of get into it for a moment. I want to break down for you the 5 layers in a unique niche that can support you in creating a business that positions you as an expert in the field, right? Now, the first layer in creating your unique niche has to do with the demographic. That's the most basic of descriptions that you can put out there. This is women that are 35 and up, right? Like, you're just thinking about a basic demographic that you feel comfortable working with. And it is important that you choose a demographic because it's going to help you to further narrow down who it is you're talking to. Now, the second layer in your unique niche is the challenge. Let's say you've got these women that are 35. What are they dealing with? Are they moving through a divorce? Are they getting married for the first time? Are they becoming mothers? What's the challenge that has them seeking support? When you layer in the demographic and the challenge, you're creating what I call an egoic label. An egoic label is something that describes the person so to a T that the minute you start to talk about what it is you offer and who you serve, they will hear themselves in your messaging automatically. So an egoic label is the combination of your demographic and the challenge put together in such a way that it just describe somebody to a T. Now, after you have that, the demographic, and you have their challenge, next up is thinking about your approach. Now, this is where what you've learned in school comes into play. Maybe you have a particular certification, or you're trauma informed, or you have a holistic perspective, or whatever it is that defines how you do what you do, the way that you support people belongs in this category. So, for example, let's just say you're dealing with people who have families whose children have ADHD. You might be someone who's focused on play therapy, where somebody else might be focused on holistic methods for mindfulness. 2 totally different approaches, even though you're dealing with the same demographic and the same challenge. Now, let me say this about approaches. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a trail of certifications and trainings in this particular thing, because sometimes that hems people up too. If you've been working in this for a while and you understand the basics of how to serve people from that perspective, you are already qualified enough. You don't need a trail of letters in order to position yourself as an expert. You need lived experience, professional expertise, and the confidence to let people know you can support them. All right, so we've got our first 3 layers. We have our demographic, we have our challenge, and now we have our approach. Next up is services. This is how you do what you do. What's the container in which you're going to be supporting people? Oftentimes, especially in this post-COVID world, the way that you're serving people can be a very distinguishing factor. There are some people who have returned to brick and mortar offices, and that's what they offer. And the clients are so excited because they're ready to get back in the office and out of this virtual environment. Other people are virtual only. Some people offer intensives or immersive experiences that are not ongoing, but a weekend experience. Some people offer retreats. We're talking now about the package that you use to deliver your services. That's kind of a distinguishing factor in your unique niche. So let's go back to our family that has ADHD. Perhaps somebody is offering them family therapy and somebody else is doing home visits. two totally different approaches and, service models that have maybe a different approach in the therapeutic sense and also serving the same population. But can you begin to see how there's so much variation now that it's nearly impossible for you to be doing the exact same thing as the niche mate that's in town with you? Now, when I add in this fifth layer, you're going to be a believer if you're not already. This fifth layer is the thing that will set you apart no matter how similar you are to your niche mate. This one is about your style. Who are you in the work that you're doing? It's your personality. It's the energy that you bring into a room when you walk in there. It's how it feels to be in your presence. It's allowing your Saturday self to show up in your Monday morning. So this is where we have an ability to be a human being in the work that we're doing with our clients, in the work that you're doing as a professional, period. Your style will come shining through. And it could be anything from, your personal brand to your appearance. It could be the way that you engage with folks. There are so many layers that allow you to be fully embodied in your business from a style perspective. The variation is endless. So when you add all 5 of those layers together, I know you can see how there's room for unique niche that you're creating to position you as an expert that's different from everyone else. And while we're on the concept of niche mates, I want to say one more thing. Instead of feeling discouraged when you see people doing something you're thinking about doing, I want you to consider it as proof of concept. Seeing someone offer something similar to what you've been wanting to do lets you know that it can be done. There is always room for you to contribute your unique voice to the field. As a matter of fact, your clients, your colleagues, and all those niche mates that are ready to collaborate with you are waiting. Okay? So I want to share with you an example of what this looks like in action. And what happens when you start adding in all these layers of the niche to make sure that things work well for you, particularly the one about your style. I had a client once from New Orleans, and she wanted to work with Black families. That's the community that she served, and that's where she wanted to hang her shingle. But unfortunately, the clients that she was getting weren't really a match for who she wanted to work with. And those clients really weren't the best fit. It wasn't working long term. She would get new clients and maybe a few would stay, but she was really having trouble growing her business. I took one look at her website, and here's what I was able to see. Instead of there being pictures of Black people or even pictures of herself featured on the website, she had a lot of very stock images of people who felt really cold and distant and nondescript, actually. Nothing that spoke to the niche she was intending to connect with. And so folks were scheduling with her kind of randomly here and there. And then when they got there, it just didn't feel like a good fit because they really didn't have enough information to make their decision on in the beginning. So we revamped her website, and instead we put in, all kinds of pictures that had energy around Black families and Black people. And we had children on there too. So because she wanted to talk about parenting and the kinds of connections that people were making with their family of origin. We also put on there the colors of the Mardi Gras. So people could feel that NOLA pride when they visited the website, and it felt so aligned that folks were lining up to come and see her. I kid you not. Within just a few months of us creating these shifts on her website, she was booked solid for months down the line. And it also allowed her to kind of show up fully in her brand and expand in all kinds of unique and wonderful ways, doing all kinds of stuff. It gave her permission to be herself, and her clients loved it. Okay. And so I want you to know that type of thing is possible for you too. Not only will creating a strong niche help you to establish yourself in private practice, it'll help you when you're ready to scale beyond the couch and start doing all kinds of unique offers that are a good fit for your strengths and for your niche. hope today was helpful. If you liked what I had to say, go ahead and put it on the video. And if you think it's something shareable, share it with a mental health professional that you know. And if you have not already, it is time for you to subscribe. If you've seen a few of our videos and you know that this information is useful for you, come on back because I got plenty more good stuff coming. In the meantime, I want to make sure that you understand that niching piece. So if you've got questions, the comments is the place for you to show up. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of your clients. And as always, I'm here to make sure that we help you take good care of business.